Optional reality. Ideology is an instrument of power, a defense mechanism against information, a pretext for eluding moral constraints in doing or approving evil with a clean conscience, and finally, a way of banning the criterion of experience, that is, of completely eliminating or indefinitely postponing the pragmatic criteria of success and failure. Jean-François Revel. This chapter's recapitulation of our exploration of the vision of the Anointed will begin with its greatest achievement and its greatest danger, which are one and the same. That vision has become self-contained and self-justifying, which is to say, independent of empirical evidence. That is what makes it dangerous, not because a particular set of policies may be flawed or counterproductive, but because insulation from evidence virtually guarantees a never-ending supply of policies and practices fatally independent of reality. This self-contained and self-justifying vision has become a badge of honor and a proclamation of identity. To affirm it is to be one of us, and to oppose it is to be one of them. Moreover, the pervasiveness of the vision of the Anointed at all levels of the American educational system ensures future supplies of people indoctrinated with this vision, and also convinced that they should make a difference, that public policy making is to be seen as ego gratification, from imposing one's vision on other people through the power of government. The central tenets of the prevailing vision can be summarized in 5 propositions. 1. Painful social situations, problems, exist not because of inherent limits to knowledge or resources, or inadequacies inherent in human beings, but because other people lack the wisdom or virtue of the Anointed. 2. Evolved beliefs represent only a socially constructed set of notions, not reflections of an underlying reality. Therefore, the way by which problems can be solved is by applying the articulated rationality of the Anointed, rather than by relying on evolved traditions or systemic processes growing out of the experiences of the masses. 3. Social causation is intentional rather than systemic, so that condemnation is in order when various features of the human experience are either unhappy or appear anomalous to the Anointed. 4. Great social or biological dangers can be averted only by the imposition of the vision of the Anointed on less enlightened people by the government. 5. Opposition to the vision of the Anointed is due not to a different reading of complex and inconclusive evidence, but exists because opponents are lacking, either intellectually or morally, or both. Perhaps even more important than the specific tenets of this vision is that these propositions are not treated as hypotheses to be tested, but as self-evident axioms. Evidence is seldom asked or given, and evidence to the contrary is often either ignored or answered only by a sneer. Whether dealing with crime, foreign policy, the economy, the environment, or 1,000 other issues, the first prerequisite is that these issues must be conceived in terms which flatter the egos of the Anointed. The question is not how to reduce crime, but how to showcase the superiority of the Anointed to the benighted on the crime issue, such as by talking about root causes. In foreign policy, the issue is not how best to safeguard the lives and livelihoods of the American people, but how to showcase the superior wisdom and virtue of the Anointed, such as by promoting disinterested knight-errantry around the world, a vision that has turned Cold War doves into post-Cold War hawks, from Bosnia to Haiti. Any conception, theory, or policy which fulfills the vital function of validating the Anointed's sense of differential rectitude has the inside track for becoming part of their vision, even with little or no evidence, and in fact despite mounting evidence to the contrary. Adopting as mascots all sorts of people who create high costs for their fellow human beings, whether through crime, disease, or parasitic behavior, clearly fulfills the requirement of flattering the Anointed on their superior vision, which allows them to see social issues in terms of how society has mistreated its victims, who are to be rescued by the Anointed. This vision requires that the mascot's own behavior, choices, and performances be brushed aside as factors in unhappy outcomes, as is done by the preemptive phrase, blaming the victim. Rejecting traditional morality likewise allows the Anointed to believe that, all over the world, millions of people of every race, creed, and nationality have for thousands of years been hopelessly mistaken in thinking that moral codes are necessary for the survival of civilization, a mistake to be corrected by the newly minted wisdom of the zeitgeist. Verbal dexterity plays a key role in insulating the vision of the anointed from the vicissitudes of mere facts. Through the magic of definitions, no one can ever catch AIDS by casual contact, and no one will ever be murdered by a homeless person. Any newly discovered way by which someone catches AIDS will then be removed from the category of casual contact, and any homeless person who commits murder will thereafter be referred to in the media as a transient or a drifter, but not homeless. Indeed, the very conception of testing beliefs against reality is attacked by such things as deconstruction, cultural relativism, and the practice of describing uncongenial conclusions as perceptions or stereotypes, and attributing false consciousness to those who hold them. Through these and other such tactics, intractable three-dimensional realities are reduced to one-dimensional psychological propensities, male-female pay differentials, for example, being due to uncaring institutions and exploitative employers, as Barbara Ehrenreich put it. Any unflattering information about any group treated as mascots by the anointed is attributed to malign intentions toward that group when that information comes from outsiders, and to self-hate when it comes from insiders. As Hannah Arendt has pointed out, transforming questions of fact into questions of intent has been the great achievement of 20th century totalitarians. It is a dangerous achievement which has survived the collapse of both fascist and communist empires and has become a hallmark of much of the Western intelligentsia. Divorce from reality is so nearly complete that the question rarely, if ever, arises as to whether the world inside the mind of the anointed differs from the world outside. That there is a vision in the first place, a framework of assumptions without which even their most heartfelt beliefs are groundless, is something noted from time to time by those with the tragic vision, but seldom, if ever, by those with the vision of the anointed. To the anointed, their vision and reality are one and the same. Yet the world inside their mind has few of the harsh constraints of the world inhabited by millions of other human beings. The crucial role of a vision is that it enables a vast range of beliefs to be regarded as presumptively true until definitively disproved by unchallengeable evidence, something seldom encountered outside of science laboratories. Another way of saying the same thing is that this vision puts all burdens of proof on others.